Okay, Hatboro Horsham, we're going to start on a blues using the major pentatonic scale in a 1-4-5 progression. I'm going to get to that, but to do that you really need these. I'm including them in the email that's coming to you if you don't already have it, but you should print these out and just use them all the time, just so that you know what you're doing, what it is you're actually doing, that you're not just aimlessly putting your fingers on notes because I say put your finger on this note or that note. There is a method to this, and you should learn that method. It truly is not overwhelming. It truly is not rocket science, but it is necessary to play music that sounds somewhat coherent. So I'm including these with you. I'll be referring to them here, and I'll tell you when to refer specifically. These, by the way, the first one is this, the more important. It lists the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the do, re, mi notes of any scale. You know that you can play on the string of E. For instance, you have E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and E, right on down. Those are always in the same order. It is always preceded by a D sharp. It's always followed by an F. No matter where you go, anywhere along here, it's a never-ending sequence of notes, always in the same order. And everything starts from knowing that and embracing that's really going to work. I'm not going to say next week, well, I told you G comes after an F sharp. That's not really true all the time. No, it is true all the time, and you need to just start working with that confidence and assurance. So if I say, well, there's an E note is down here, what's the next note? You really don't have to think. If you know the sequence, well, it's an F. I can't make that wrong. There's nothing that I can say that's going to make that wrong. This is called a chromatic scale, just going note by note, but we're familiar with the do, re, mi scale, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. In A, for instance, we're going to do this in A, and when I say we're going to do it in A, you go down here to the key of A, which is the first one. It's on line 3, and Sue will try to get that in for you, but you'll have it in front of you. It's the third line down. That tells you what the first, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh notes are of that scale. And that you get by looking at these Roman numerals in the very first, in the top row. And if I said in the key of A, what is the second note, the second degree of the scale, you normally just call it the second, what would be B? And when you can arrange this into just a template that wherever you start on string 6 and play this sequence of notes, you end up with a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. So what is that? I have other things on that. I don't want to use up the time on this video, but this scale and taking it all the way down, and I won't come back up, just not to add confusion because that's counting backwards. So it's this template. It's just that template. If I want to find out what it is in the key of C sharp, what I would play for do, re, mi, it's a different starting note. It's a C sharp down here at 9, fret 9. And you hear that it has the very same sound, but not the very same notes. So they're not rocket science concepts, and they're all verifiable. I would encourage you to go and get just a different sound and have that all sink in, because that is one thing that you need to know to refer to when I say, well, we're going to play the 6th note in this scale. That 6th note is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the do, re, mi scale. We're always going to use that scale, that major scale, to determine when I say the 6th or the 7th or the flat 7th, the major 7th, I'm referring to that scale. It would not be it would not be the seventh note away. Seventh note is not going to be the sixth note in this case, not going to be the sixth note from this A starting point, because I'm skipping notes here. So you can see right here, I'm skipping note here, right here, and that comes out to the 2-2, starting A, big 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, that's the major scale. Means that I'm skipping certain notes. Which ones? 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Start off with the first note, the root note, skip 2, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2, skip 2, skip 2, skip 1. So if I play that now down, if I play that north and south, then I am playing right down string 6 to string 1. Now, the major pentatonic scale, means 5, and that means I'm going to have 5 notes now instead of 7 notes, and then a repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, repeat. There's 7 notes and a repeat in the major scale. A pentatonic means 5 notes and a repeat. That's where the penta comes in. So logically, I'm playing 7 notes, and now I'm playing 5, so 2 of the notes that I'm playing in the major scale, they have to go. It's like the traveling team for basketball. 7 guys come to practice, but the traveling team, they only take 5. So what are the ones that leave? Well, first of all, I'm going to play the major scale. The recognizable is the My Girl. And I end up an octave away at string in the key of A at string 4, fret 7. So the notes I'm playing are 1, 2, 3, and then skip 4, and then I play 5, then I go to 6, and then I go to the repeat. And if I play that all the way down, excuse me, when I get to this point, I jump over, I'm fingering this with my index finger on fret 4, all the way to here, which is string 3, fret 4, and then I shift down here from string 3, fret 4 to string 3, fret 6, and then my index finger is now, we call that position, it's now in position 5, which means it's at fret 5, my index finger. That determines where these other fingers go, doesn't it? So and that little box is what we're going to play. We're just going to start off. I want to give you something that you can start off if you want to jam with each other, and you go into a 12-bar blues, then you can use just the notes from that little box in there to play the 12-bar blues. Which, as you get good, you're going to go away from that. But just to get started, I'm going to give it to. Going to give you just a few little things that I want you to practice for expression. But let's look at this. First thing is we have an A chord here. There's an A chord. And the reason that's an A chord is that you know from past studies that if you know the notes on string 6, as I've said, you also then know the notes on string 1. You should have them down solid. And if I make an E shape, if I bar wherever this note is on string 6, happens to be an A note at string 6, fret 5, if I bar that and then make an E shape behind it, I have an A chord. A chord, that's obviously a group of notes here, as opposed to a single note. You're going to use this schema here just as an understanding both of chords and of notes, of individual notes that make up a chord, and a way to classify chord progressions, which means the chords of the song. We're going to use the same thing for both. So we have an A, and if we have a 1-4-5 progression, or 1-4-5 song, you're going to go to the row with A, and under the Roman numeral 4, you'll see a D. Under the Roman numeral 5, you'll see an E. So you're going to have a progression like, and that's 1, 4, 5. They're all different chords, and the chords happen to be A. There's an A, a D, and an E. So let's look at the most important thing that you have when we're going to play this progression, and that is, where are the A notes? The A notes are string 6, fret 5, string 1, fret 5, because they're always the same. When you have the guitar tuned to the standard tuning, whatever note you have at string 6, at that fret, at the very same fret, it's going to be that note 2 octaves away. So you have an A, string 6, fret 5, string 1, fret 5, and A. And if you remember from class a couple of years ago, that if we come down 2 strings, go south 2 strings, and then go south down the fretboard 2, you have an octave. So you also know that if you play the major scale, you end up at that octave. If you play the major pentatonic scale, you also end up at that octave. You want to get used to that sound while you're playing. And I'm always saying, always listen to what you're playing, learn from what you're playing. It's the best teacher, and that's the sound of an octave, which is an important sound to have register in your head. So we have an A here, we have an A there, we have an A here. But right here, everything's counting, as I've told you for 2 years now. All you need is to count. And you know that you have an A here at string 1, fret 5. If I count down on string 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have an A note here at string 2, fret 10. See, string 1, fret 5 plus 5 on the next string is string 2, fret 5 plus 5, 10. So I have an A note down here. That's same as this note, but down, same as this note being an A. I have an A here also at string 2, fret 10. I also have an A, we have an A at string, as I said, string 4, fret 7. We have at string 3, fret 2, can you see the 7, 2 minus 7 going to equal 5? We have that once again up here. We have an A note string 3, fret 2. That is the root. It's the root note. The real root is actually string 5 open string, but string 3, fret 2. 2 strings down and 2 back. From this open string 5, you have another A, and you know this form of the A. So you have this A, you have an A up here. You have an A here. Up here is string 3, fret 2, string 1, fret 5, string 6, fret 5, string 4, fret 7. They're all, and you can find that they're the A by any way that you can count. You can start up, you know, have an A at string 4, fret 7. Just knowing and having confidence in the sequence is always going to be E, F, F sharp, G. Yeah, that never changes. You could start on the open string 4. That's a D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Takes me down to right where it's going to, or else, as I've always joked, bridges would fall down, right? It's because it's math. It has to come out there. And if you go to the D here and then count backwards now, you have C sharp, C, B, A sharp, A. Same spot, no matter how I count it. I can go 2 down and 2 back, I end up with an A. From an A, string 6, fret 5, 2 strings down, brings me string 4, and I count back from this note right here, 2 notes, and I end up with an A. Any way that you want to go is always going to end up there. So you have multiple ways of checking yourself. Am I on the right note or what it is? So we know where the A's are now, and that's important. And don't be overwhelmed that we're only going to use a couple of them right here. And in ensuing lessons, we're going to start moving around to different shapes That's where this comes in, the different shapes for the major pentatonic scale. Now, we have an A here. Now we gotta look at the D, at a D chord. A D chord, here's a D, that's an A shape behind string 5, fret 5. Whatever's on string 5, you make an A shape behind that, and you end up with whatever chord this root note is. This happens to be a D note right here. Yeah, how do I know that's a D note? Well, I know it's a D note from string 5 open is A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, there we are. I also know it's a D note because it's the same as the string 5 fret 5 and string 4 open are both Ds. So the string 4 open is a D, and string 5 away once again, has to be a D. So there's just multiple ways to come at this, and the more ways you come at it, the more it will solidify and become second nature, which is your ultimate goal. That's not going to happen in a day. It just, you know, as you demystify this fretboard, you eventually say, why did I ever have trouble with that? So, but it requires some effort and a little bit of that dreaded word, study. Right? So you have a D here, and an E is 2 away from that. It's 2 after. It's 1, 2. That same A shape now, this is an E note up here now on string 5 fret 7, 2 away from the D note on string 5 fret 5. I have an E note, and I make that same A, I have an E chord now. So that's why I can play this E-shaped A shaped D, A-shaped E. So I know that these are all around there. They're all in the vicinity of where we're going to take the first couple licks. Now, it's also important to know, and I'll give a little theory with each video that I send out. But we have a C chord up here that you know and love. I'm not going to explain that, except to say that the root is at string 5 fret 3. That's a C note. You can validate that by going A sharp, B, C. There we are. C, and you have from this root note, if you make this shape that you've already had, that's a C. That's a C chord right there. If I move that down 2 notes, it becomes a D chord. But I have to now, to keep the same relationship, I have to bar the open string 3, which is a G, which is not part of a D chord. And now I can, if I bar this and make a C behind it, I now have a D chord. So let's take a look at that. We have a D chord here. If I make a D7th out of that, which means that I make this C formation, starting with the index at string 5 fret 5, a D note, and then string 4 fret 4, that's an F sharp note, and then down here at a string 2 fret 3, that's a D note. If I put my index, or my pinky, at string 3 fret 5, I have a D7. We're going to use that. And we have move that down 2. I have a D7th here, so move it down 2. It has to be an E7th, and there's an E7th. So I can play this A, D, E. I can play it with these formations, A, D7th, E7th, make it a little more bluesy, and we're going to use that. So that's what you need to know, except for this, which is really important. We're only going to use strings 1, 2, and 3 for this just a little exercise and taking a little lead, and that is that string 1 fret 5 is an A note. That's the root note of the A chord. We're playing in the key of A. We're playing the A major pentatonic scale. So string 1 fret 5, that's an A. String 1 fret 7 is a B. String 2 fret 5 is an E, which is the 5th, just check it out on this, is the 5th of an A major scale, and string 2 fret 7 is the 7th of an A major scale, and string 3 fret 6 is a C sharp, which is the 3rd of a major scale. So this little formation right here, which is holding down strings 1 and 2 with my index, and then my ring finger up at string 3 fret 6, that is a little A chord right there. A, E, C sharp, going from string 1 to string. Check once again, you'll see A, C sharp, and E make an A chord. That's the 1, 3, and 5 notes. So, but how about a D chord? Well, you'll notice, or maybe you didn't, there is no D in this A major pentatonic scale. There's no D. That means you can't use the tonic note. When you get to the D chord, you can't use a D if we're playing strictly the major pentatonic, which we are for instruction purposes. But you do have an A, which is part of, that's the 5th of a D chord. Now you go down to D and you find the 5th is an A. And string 2 fret 7, that's an F sharp, and that's the 3rd. So we do have the 3rd, string 2 at F sharp, string 2 fret 7, string 1 fret 5, that's the 5th, that's an A note. We do have that for a D chord. And for an E chord, we have an E, and that is string 2 fret 5, that's an E note. And we have a B note, an E chord. Once again, checking this, 1, 3, and 5, you'll see an E chord is 1 E, and G sharp is the 3rd. There is no G sharp, and B is the 5th. So you would think that when you get to a D chord, you want to be landing on either string 1 fret 5 or string 2 fret 7, and if you're on a G chord or an E chord, you want to either be on the E at string 2 fret 5 or on the B at string 1 fret 7, because they're the notes that are actually in those chords as we switch from A to D to E, or E7. So that's it. We're going to go on and give you a couple licks for I'm going to give you 12 bars of things that you can play. I want you to play it expressively. That's where you want to concentrate not on speed but on expression, so it sounds good, it sounds bluesy, it sounds interesting, and we will address that next. Okay.